Just kidding. I am a lot of things, but I am not Zach Bagans. Hello, new wavers. Welcome back to my channel. Why am I talking with a Cockney accent? Let's start that one over. Hello, new wavers, and welcome back to my channel. I'm Ian Hammonds, licensed professional counselor and licensed marriage and family therapist, and unlicensed paranormal investigator. So instead of doing a paranormal investigation this week, not that I have run out of places to investigate because I definitely haven't, instead I wanted to film a video basically as a resource for any beginning paranormal investigators. I myself am no expert. Please do not think that I have been doing this for years and years and years and years and years. Here are some things that I basically have picked up along the way that have worked for me, and hopefully they can work for all of you lovely people out there as well. For this video, I am going to be discussing 13 tips for beginning paranormal investigators. And no, I did not plan it to be 13. It actually literally just came out that way. Basically, I sat down and had a conversation with myself. Not schizophrenic. I had a conversation with myself and basically realized that there were these particular things that I wish I could have told myself at the very beginning of my paranormal investigation, because I walked into this absolutely 100% clueless. I had no idea what I was doing, and thankfully I had a wonderful team of people to kind of like just train me and basically tell me like, do this, do not do this. Instead of paying hundreds and hundreds of dollars for books and manuals and trainings, I would rather make a free video helping people basically who have no idea where to start. Give them just some kind of direction. So here we go. Fasten your seatbelts, it's gonna be a bumpy night. Tip number 1, buy equipment. What equipment should I buy, you may ask? Buy a spirit box, buy an audio recorder, buy an EMF detector, and buy a REM pod. Some bonus equipment that I would actually like to include in this video are dowsing rods.
You think I'm stupid?
No, she thinks you're funny.
I never saw nothing like this before in my natural black ass life.
Motion activated cat toys, and a GoPro. If you already have an iPhone or a phone with a very high quality camera, you are good. You basically don't need to go out and buy a $3,600 Sony camera. Not everyone has $3,600 just lying around. Just know that if you were in the beginning of paranormal investigation and you don't have a expensive high quality camera just lying around, an iPhone or a phone with a high quality camera is just fine. That's literally all you need. Spirit Talker is an app that a lot of paranormal investigators on YouTube actually use to communicate with spirits through words. There's a list of words that basically communicate with spirits, and the spirits basically choose the word through the app. Another amazing app that I like to use a lot is called Regrid. Regrid is basically an app that you can download to see who owns properties. We'll actually get into this in a second, but properties that are abandoned, you want to actually look up who owns the property and to get written permission to actually go to these properties. Tip number 2, charge your equipment. Charge your equipment. It seems so trivial, yet it's something that I know investigators who have been doing this for 20 plus years have basically forgotten to charge their equipment the night before an investigation. I can't say this enough. Charge your equipment. And if the equipment is fully charged and still dies while you're on an investigation, that's data. That basically means that a spirit is communicating with you by draining your energy, and it's usually a negative entity. Tip number 3, do not trespass. Whatever you do, do not illegally enter a property, especially if you are filming for a YouTube channel. Abandoned properties are constantly patrolled by policemen, and even though the idea of trespassing on a property seems really cool and really exciting and really fun, don't do it. If you're trespassing on a property and you are caught by a police officer, you will be arrested. And if the owners of the building actually find out that you have trespassed and you post the footage up on YouTube, there could actually be some potential ramifications. Like I said, the idea of trespassing on an abandoned property seems very exciting, especially if you are an adventure seeker, an urban explorer like myself, but please don't do it. There are several places in Austin and San Antonio, which is basically where I live. There are so many times where I have been tempted to walk on a property and trespass, but I stop myself because I have licenses that could be revoked if I get arrested. It is always best to get permission from the owner or manager of the building. Number 4, and this actually ties into number 3, but number 4 is be prepared to get told no. When asking permission to investigate a property, be prepared to get told no, be prepared to get laughed at, be prepared for people to shoo you out of the building, be prepared to get ghosted. Half of the time you approach the owner of a property about investigating their property that is rumored to be haunted, they sometimes will actually welcome you with open arms. They'll give you a warm hug. They will talk your ear off about all of the different sightings and noises, and the staff will be really excited to talk to you about the haunted history of the place and their own experiences. But then there's the other side to the coin, which is I have gotten some really nasty emails from owners and managers of properties. So be prepared for that. That's really something that no one actually told me was gonna be an issue. Paranormal tends to be a very polarizing field of investigation. And some people actually cover up their fears and their lack of understanding with hostility. It's a natural human instinct. But sadly, investigators like myself can actually be on the receiving end of said hostility. Usually when I approach a property owner, it's best to do it in person, it's best to call, it's best to basically have some kind of human-to-human interaction, whether it's over a phone call or in person. But sometimes I have no other way but to contact them and send them an email. And usually the emails, obviously, when someone gets behind a keyboard, they get very brave and they are not afraid to tell you off. The reactions tend to be a lot bigger through an email or a private message than they are in person. Just be mindful of this. It's always recommended that you approach the owner or the manager in person. Number 5. Paranormal investigations can get very expensive. Aside from the equipment that you have to buy to do a proper paranormal investigation, and the equipment, by the way, is usually not very cheap. Renting out a property for an overnight investigation can cost anywhere between $300 to $500 and sometimes more. The cost of renting out a property to investigate overnight can also depend on the day of the week. Just kind of like hotels, it's usually more expensive over the weekend than it is during the week. There is also the cost of gas and or transportation. I know that when I leave for a paranormal investigation, especially when I leave town for several days at a time, I have to factor in the cost of my animals also being taken care of. Luckily, I have some amazing pet sitters that are local and don't charge me an arm and a leg. Shout out to Nick and shout out to Cheyenne. But pet care and or child care, if you're gone for several days at a time, can get very expensive. Hotel stays can also be very expensive. From my experience, hotels like the Driscoll, hotels like Minger Hotel in San Antonio, a lot of hotels with a lot of haunted lore and ghost history actually tend to be a little bit more expensive. Even though they're on like the 3-star quality, they usually have 4 to 5-star prices because of the fact that they can capitalize on the possibility of people renting out a hotel room on a haunted floor or a rumored hotel room that's haunted. Yay, capitalism! Number 6, research the places before investigating them. Have certain names or certain historical events that have happened at a hotel that might have influenced how haunted it is. Have those fresh in your memory when you start the investigation. And when you are well researched before investigating a property, this actually enhances your ability and approachability to the spirits because they know that you come in with knowledge and information about essentially their life stories. When researching, listen to podcasts, watch videos, even watch past Ghost Adventures episodes. I'm admitting to YouTube that sometimes when I'm alone at night, I still watch Ghost Adventures. Also read online periodicals or books about the history of the property. Take this recommendation with a grain of salt. Reddit. I've actually found some really useful information on Reddit. Obviously, due to the highly subjective nature of Reddit, be cautious. Take what people say as a grain of salt because you never know if they're being deceitful or not. And don't consider Reddit your primary source of researching a property, obviously, before you investigate it. Also, when researching the properties through online periodicals, books, documentaries, YouTube videos, podcasts, there's really no way of verifying if they're true, but definitely listen to your gut to see if the people putting the information out there are real. It's sad that parapsychology is not necessarily considered a traditional form of science in the US, which is a whole nother video. Number 7, when investigating, bring something with you that feels protective. This thing that you're bringing with you, it could be a crystal, it could be a pendant, it could be a necklace, it could be a cross, it could be a bundle of sage, or anything else that you feel has protected you in some other very dark moments. Bring something protective with you before an investigation. Just as there are many positive spirits that will be happy to welcome us with open arms into their properties, there will also be some oppressive entities that will leave scratches, use psychological manipulation, and extreme cases, possession. Bring a protective object with you to an investigation to guard yourself from getting psychologically manipulated, possessed, or scratched by spirits. Number 8, do not taunt spirits. I repeat, do not taunt spirits. I learned this the hard way several times. So I've come in contact with spirits that have been homophobic or called me some homophobic slurs, but you have to remember to meet them where they were when they were alive. Even though some of the stupid ideologies that they believed in were unfortunately acceptable at the time. But to taunt or provoke the spirits that are present at a property only makes them more active and more upset once you leave. So you're really not doing anybody any favors. Also, if you've provoked spirits, they can follow you home and majorly rearrange your life. I have seen paranormal investigators come home after investigations where they have taunted or egged on spirits and their marriages have ended, their properties get broken into or robbed, their cars get broken into, their cars break down. And in extreme cases, if you provoke an entity and it follows you home, sometimes it can literally kill you. Moral of the story is, do not provoke spirits. Number 9, be prepared for several hours of non-activity when you investigate a property. A lot of paranormal researchers, when they first get into this field, they expect just a rage of paranormal EVPs, of doors slamming, of objects being thrown. However, these occurrences are both extreme and rare. A very wise paranormal investigator actually told me before I even got into this that when you go to a property to investigate it, go in with 0 expectations. And if you get EVPs, photo or video evidence, or extreme cases like things being thrown, that's just the bonus. By going to a property without having any kind of high expectations actually brings about some really good data. Spirits can tell when you walk into their property expecting something and will likely just kind of hide or not be active while you're on an investigation. Go to a property with an open mind and know that there are probably going to be several hours of non-activity. Sometimes spirits need some time to basically warm up once you enter their house. Be patient, they will come around. Number 10, establish boundaries. Could I be any more of a therapist right now? Before leaving an investigation, make it abundantly clear to the spirits that you may or may not have been communicating with to not follow you home. This is imperative. Thank the spirits that you have connected with while you're at the investigation, but make sure that they know that they cannot attach themselves to you and or follow you home. A form of spirit is actually called an attachment. Attachment spirits can basically attach themselves to objects, they can attach themselves to houses, to buildings, And sometimes they can even attach themselves to humans if they're feeling real frisky. And for this reason, do not allow spirits to attach themselves to you. Number 11, after an investigation, make time for rest. Investigations, especially the ones that are overnight, take up a lot of energy from us. Take at least a day after an investigation for rest because it is emotionally taxing. You will definitely need rest if you have a full-time job or have a family to raise. Number 12, grow your paranormal community. As humans, we are wired for connection, and this is no exception to the paranormal investigation community. Just as you are being trained to play an instrument or play tennis, we also need people around us to essentially train us and get us ready for paranormal investigations. We need to learn from other experts. We need to hear other people's perspectives. And we even need to hold space for some skeptics who are not fully invested in the spirit realm. Another purpose of community is when we review footage or photos taken on an investigation, we need a fresh pair of eyes to basically also review them. They may hear and see things that we initially missed either on an investigation or reviewing the footage. And finally, number 13. This is more of a bonus for anybody who is thinking about starting a paranormal YouTube page, but it also applies to anybody who takes footage or records audio while they're on paranormal investigations. Be prepared to go through hours and hours and hours of footage that you record while you're on a paranormal investigation. The reason why is that this part feels so lengthy is because it is. When you record at an investigation, you essentially are hoping to capture evidence, either evidence that you can see, which would be something considered a Class A EVP, or when you review the footage that you record while on a paranormal investigation, which again can take hours to complete. You're looking through every single frame. You're listening every second for any voices or whispers or noises that you didn't hear while you were there in person. You're looking for orbs that you might have not seen while you were recording. And like I said, if you were doing this for the tube, if you were doing this for YouTube and you plan to release paranormal investigations for entertainment purposes on YouTube, the editing process can sometimes take days and days and days, days and days and days, days and days and days to complete. You are having to watch and rewatch and re-listen to footage. Is re-listen a word? You're having to listen to footage very, very carefully that you took in order to make sure that you did not miss anything. This is boring and tedious and time consuming. But if you are passionate enough about creating some badass ghost footage, either for yourself or for YouTube, you'll make room for this very lengthy part of the process. Different programs for editing that you can use are Final Cut if you have an Apple computer. You can also use CapCut and VN, which are both free. So those are my 13 tips for any paranormal investigator who is thinking about starting or already has started and just needs an update. I hope you found them useful. Again, these are 13 tips that I wish someone would have told me before starting paranormal investigation. Oh wait, they did actually tell me this, but I didn't listen. I learned how to basically do these on my own, even though they were already told to me, but it's one thing for someone to tell me to do something. It's another for me to actually learn it in real time. I was that kid, if you couldn't tell, that when my parents told me to not touch the hot skillet, I touched the hot skillet. So if anything, consider all of these tips in one way or another. They are me learning from my own mistakes. If you like this video or are just interested in more paranormal investigations that I plan to put out very, very soon, please like, comment, share, and most importantly, if we vibe, subscribe. Thank you so much, New Wavers, and I'll talk to you all very soon. Mwah.